again, make sure this time you layer up. I am someone who's very attentive to most things, but the small things in life were not one of those at the beginning of last year. I would go through my everyday life not noticing how much there is to be grateful for, and looking back, it is hard to know that I didn't appreciate the little things in life, such as going on walks. Going on daily walks was something I picked up towards the beginning of last year. After walking for a couple of months, this is where I was at my best. I now appreciate more things because of my walks. I always wanted to get into better habits, knowing how much time I spent indoors. So I wanted to add something new to my routine and something outdoorsy. Before I had started going on these walks, I was usually in a crabby mood when I got home from a long day of school. With the unfinished homework assignments still dragging me along and a long list of things to do when I got home, it became very stressful for me. And after talking to my mom about this, she gave me a list of a couple things I could do to help me relax before going to bed. Along with this, she encouraged me to get outside more. I thought to myself, what a dumb idea. When would I have time for that? When I was younger, my mom always forced me to go on walks with me and my family, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. I was dragging along, always the last person to come back inside the house or running to get to the house. But I told her that I would think about it, and as the next school day was over, I realized I didn't have any homework. I figured this would be a good time to start a good habit, so when I got home, I decided to try out my mom's idea. I'd like to say that after my first walk, I became less stressed right away, but it wasn't about 2 weeks into doing these walks that I felt less stressed. I came up with a little routine before going on these walks. I dressed appropriately, which was usually sweats and tennis shoes, and my favorite gray sweatshirt because it was big but not too big, so my jacket would still go over it. And I would always have my AirPods connected to my phone. I brought my phone with me the first couple of times because I always have a fear, and still do, that I'm going to get kidnapped. So I just want to have that just in case. But now in the winter, I don't usually go that far, so I don't bring my phone as much as I were if it were warmer out. When it's warmer out, I go further out of my neighborhood and go down random streets that I've never gone down before. With these walks, I picked up multiple things that I would have never picked up before, such as podcasts. I like to listen to these not because I used to not listen to these, not because I didn't think they were like good or not bad or whatever, but I just never got into them. But now I like to listen to podcasts, slow music, upbeat music, and anything. The sunsets, nature, and everything that came with it opened my eyes to how much I should be grateful for. The small things in life are insanely important, and these walks opened my eyes to such that. I would go on walks right after I ate supper, which is usually at sunset, which is my favorite part of the day because I get to see all the colors in the sky and see what God has created for me. So I would like to try to crunch out all my homework while I eat supper, then eat, then go out. If you're going out again, make sure this time you layer up, was something that my mom said every single time before I went outside. These walks usually lasted around 20 to 30 minutes, so it would be 1 to 2 miles depending on how far I went that day. During this time, I would put my phone on silence depending on if I brought it with me that time, and pick a playlist or podcast that fit that vibe for the certain day or walk. I would always put one AirPod in and leave the other one out. This is because I wanted to hear the nature like the birds and stuff, but I also didn't want anybody following me and no car behind me, so I always kept one out. My favorite walk so far was one that I'll never forget. It was right after my grandma had passed, and it was my first time coming home from North Dakota. The sunset was spectacular. There were so many colors in the sky, and this alone made me happy because I knew she was making the sunset for my family and I. But then, the more I walked, the more I noticed how many birds there were in the sky. My grandma's favorite animal was a bird. She studied them, drew them, painted them, did whatever she could with them, along with a bunch of other bugs like insects. I hate insects, but she fascinated about spiders and ladybugs especially, but I hated both of those, so glad there weren't any on that walk. But after this experience, I'm happier each time I walk, because even if I miss a couple of days, and even if it's negated out, I still want to go and walk for a little bit, but sometimes I don't get to it because I have a game that night or I practice late, whatever the case is. These walks became such a huge role in who I am today. Taking daily walks has been such a positive thing in my life, and I'm more open to going outdoors, more open-minded, and overall happier. When I started these walks at the beginning of last year, it really opened my eyes to everything that I should be grateful for and thankful for, and overall relaxed me more before going to bed, so I guess my mom was right. I'm Camryn, and this was the time where I was at my best. Thanks for listening.